and welcome to The Real Deal on thestir.com. I am your host, Alex McCord, and as you can see, I am back from Australia in wintry New York. I have a sunburn, kayak bruises, and jet lag, but I also have gossip about the week in reality TV, including the Real Housewives of Atlanta and Beverly Hills. First, let's hit up the ladies of Atlanta. Now, I don't know how much attention you pay to ratings, but this season of Atlanta is breaking records with the number of people watching, which in my mind is helping a few things make sense. Let's break it down. First of all, new cast members. We are seeing introduction after introduction. Whether they've been seen in previous seasons or not, all these ladies are getting intro time. This week it is Natalie, a friend of Cynthia's. Now, something I recognize from my own years as a housewife is the long introduction. Twice this episode, we see everybody in the scene explaining how they know Natalie. Of course, Natalie hits the ground running with her gossip bomb about Kandi's fiancé Todd being an opportunist. No matter which word she used, Mrs. Backpedal, and Kenya's rebomb of whether or not Natalie is legally married. All of this is promising. Of all the friends of the Housewives so far this season, I think Natalie and Cynthia's sister Mallory are doing the best. And hey, both of these ladies come from Cynthia. That's pretty cool. Another noticeable investment in the budget of this show is the cast members' living situation. And I do read all your comments every week, whether they're on YouTube or my companion article on The Stir, and somebody mentioned a rumor that Bravo may have rented Portia's house for her. That makes complete sense to me. I've been saying, as you know, that I hope Portia made a sweetheart deal on this house for 2 months of filming. And did you hear what Nene said on her grand tour this week? She asked Portia, where are the owners? And Portia mentioned something about them leaving. Also, the house seems pretty empty, like a set house more than a real house. See, when you film in your real house, you have to constantly strip away the clutter. Even normal things like mail on the kitchen island can make your house look like an episode of Hoarders. It really hit home for me on the plane home from Australia this week because I watched that movie, The Bling Ring. Have you seen it? Well, anyway, in that movie, they use a house that Simon and I lived in for a month when we filmed Couples Therapy for VH1. It's this big, huge glass house on a hill in the woodland hills of the valley. You get to be able to tell whether somebody lives in a house or they don't. In the Bling Ring, that Couples Therapy house seemed empty except for a sofa and a couple of Birkin bags. Nobody lives there. By contrast, on Couples Therapy, when 10 people lived in it for a month, it seemed so cluttered it was like Hoarders. So, why is this relevant? Because of Portia's house on Atlanta. I think, from what we've seen of Portia's house, that she doesn't even live there. I think that it's been rented by somebody, producers maybe, just for filming, and Portia goes there to film her at-home scenes. That might be true for Kenya as well, given that her furniture looks like the stuff that you would get from an upscale party rental. For example, this week at her dinner party, she had these lucite tables and chairs, which looked fantastic. But let me tell you, from someone who's planned a lot of parties, you can rent those from party rental places. I have to look more closely next week on that. But all of this makes sense, given the high ratings of the show, because when a show has a lot of people watching it, they charge a lot more money for ad revenue. Therefore, they've got a bigger budget to film the show. Now, of course, it's less real that way. Certainly in New York, nobody ever rented houses for filming, but the ratings were less than half of that, so the budget was less. Next, let's talk about Kandi Burruss. Now, with the exception of the Mama Joyce drama, Kandi's really not been on my radar so far this season. But for some reason, this episode, her musical story, started to really kick in and make sense. It might be a tentpole for the second half of the season. Now, I had to laugh as I was reading between the lines at the conversation between Kandi and her co-worker, Don Juan. Kandi says she wants Kenya to be in this musical play she's putting on. Don Juan says, well, we can't give any of your people a pass. So what he's referring to is the age-old struggle when filming Housewives. He doesn't automatically want to cast any housewives in the play because he wants truly talented professional actors in it. But producers won't film or give special emphasis to the play as a storyline if there's only one housewife involved. They'll be pushing to have as many cast members as possible involved. Nene has already said no to being in the play, so Kandi really does have to cast a housewife if she wants this to make the show. Or have them do the costumes, or take tickets, or do something. Now, Todd has turned down his other television job in order to help Kandi, which also makes sense for a number of reasons. If the play is a success, then Todd working on it is good for his calling card for future jobs for him. Also, it helps his on-camera relationship with Kandi, so it's a win-win all around. And, you know, Kandi may have finally diffused this opportunist bomb by embracing it. At the girls' winery lunch, Kandi said, yes, if Todd's an opportunist, that makes me look good. I look successful and beautiful and hot. Bring it on. And I say, good girl. That's exactly the right response, and maybe it'll shut the other ladies up. And it also cements Todd as a house husband of Atlanta, that is, in the Doghouse. Speaking of the Doghouse, did you happen to see that all the men of the Doghouse were in the clubhouse last night? Andy Cohen had all the men of Atlanta on Watch What Happens Live last night, which again speaks to the budget because they flew all these men and their wives in from Atlanta. What did we learn? Well, first of all, Todd's not married yet? Okay, I'm totally confused here because Andy asked Todd whether they were going to get married, and it's my understanding that they are married and that it's the finale of the show. So are they just pretending it's not happening, or am I completely wrong? I don't know. Well, the men were allowed to say to Andy that they're being edited badly. Peter and Todd in particular. Portia's ex, Cordell, does business with Peter and is not a bad guy. Apollo doesn't cheat, etc. But did you notice that none of these men seem to be angry about the editing? I'm thinking that each guy here has decided to play along with all the showmanship as their wives and girlfriends are earning a salary that goes further in Atlanta than it does in other cities. Everybody seems to be happy there and not reluctant, which you cannot say for any other city. All these guys seem willing to play ball, and perhaps that's another secret to Atlanta's success. Now, the same cannot be said for Beverly Hills, which to me was even more of a snooze fest this week. Kim Richards dominated the episode, and while she is adorable and she was at her loopy best, it didn't make me look forward to next week. Kim quite lucidly confronted Lisa Vanderpump about blowing off her daughter's graduation party, and here's what I think. In places like Atlanta, the ladies have been completely swallowed up by the show, and the show is their entire life. Lisa, on the other hand, has a lot going on outside the Housewives. She's expanding her restaurant empire with Ken, and she did Dancing with the Stars, and she has all sorts of appearances based off all of that doesn't necessarily include shooting the show. I think that Lisa did not want to film that night, so she blew off Kim's graduation party scene. Kim then used that as a story point. And she made sense for once. I do see why it all happened, but it didn't really make it any more fun for me. My favorite part of the episode was Carlton. She cracked me up talking to the wrong door when she drunkenly thought she was chatting to Brandy. That was the most fun all week. What else? It's awards season, which is the only time all year that I get to watch movies. And I have to ask, have you seen Blue Jasmine? Cate Blanchett did an amazing job, and she deserves all the rewards she's getting so far, the Golden Globe, the SAG Award. Now I have a question. Those of you who have seen it, did Kate's character at all remind you of Sonia Morgan? See, I don't know, because I can't remember, quite frankly, what was filmed and what wasn't, but I've spent a lot of time with her, and there have been lots of tipsy conversations about all the things she used to have and all the things she used to do. Now, granted, Sonia's ex is very much alive, and as far as I know, never defrauded anyone. That's good. But it was just the fall from wealth story that seemed to resonate with me. Does anyone else think that? In any case, let me know what you thought in the comments. For now, I am Alex McCord. You are watching The Real Deal on thestir.com, and tell me what you're watching right now. I need to watch something new in addition to the Housewives. Let me know what your favorite reality shows are, and maybe I'll start covering them too. I'll see you next week.